Gerard Henderson, thank you so much for joining me. Look, Carol Sparks may have good points to make. She herself nearly lost her own house. But shouldn't the media have told the audience she was a member of the Greens party and therefore maybe had a dog in this fight?
Well, the answer is yes. In that kind of environment, if someone was speaking who was a member of the Liberal Party or the National Party or the Labor Party, you would expect that they would be identified, and I'm sure they would have been. But if you're a member of the Greens, particularly in view of the current controversy, it's all the more reason to state it. Now, everything she said may have been true, everything she said may have been false. I mean, people can draw their own conclusions. But if you have a political identity and you are a political activist, you should be identified as such.
I think so too. Look, the media left is pretty interested in blaming the fires on global warming, not so much on a failure to do enough fuel reduction burns. Gerard, you drew my attention to an exchange this morning involving ABC host Lisa Miller, which I think told the story. Have a listen.
That's also something the Australian picks up on today, albeit with a slightly different spin on it. Yeah. They've been up to Nimbin and they found some people who are critical there of the Greens.
One of the points yesterday that did come up, though, Bob Rogers from the Rural Fire Service said, look, we've got areas that were burned off 5 years ago and are burning again. So conditions have also changed. We are so much drier, it's so much hotter, it's so much windier certainly today. So I think the whole we weren't allowed to burn off argument is more complex than you might get from the Australian's headline.
Gerard, that is not someone who wants a debate about fuel reduction burns.
No, but it wasn't so long ago that Hamish McDonald on the ABC is now moving to Q&A next year. Hamish McDonald said that presenters at the ABC were not allowed to have opinions. Now, what Lisa Miller had today was a very clear opinion. She stated her opinion against the report of what the Australian was covering from voices out of some of the fire areas that said there hadn't been enough fuel reduction. Now, that was a statement of fact. I mean, they may have been too much or not enough or whatever, but the question was an issue about fire reduction. Miss Miller virtually said, look, that's all nonsense, don't believe the reports, she knows better. Well, that's very much an opinion, but that's not the role of a presenter. It was in the newspapers segment, as you know, and so there was one person talking about what was in the newspapers, and one of the co-presenters said really what should have been in the newspapers, in her view, that she just stated an opinion as a fact, but it was simply an opinion. And there's very much a blurring of opinion, in fact. Yeah.
I agree, and it also goes again and again and again to the overwhelming agenda of the ABC, which the ABC seems particularly keen to deny. Gerard, I thought it was actually weird for her to dispute this so strongly, that fuel reduction burns are part of the problem here, the lack of them, particularly when in New South Wales, both the Deputy Premier, John Barilaro, and the Agriculture Minister both saying that New South Wales does indeed need to do more fuel reduction burns in the forest there, the forest that these guys are in control of, to stop fires from being quite this bad. I mean, why would an ABC presenter be going against all the mounting evidence that we're getting now?
Well, we're getting it now, but as you know, there was a Royal Commission into the Victorian fires of about a decade ago, and that Royal Commission found then that there had been not sufficient reduction of fuel. I'm not sure how much has been done about that in Victoria. I understand not as much as should have been done. But certainly that was an issue in Victoria. And it clearly seems to be an issue also in New South Wales. It certainly should be discussed. Since, as we know, from the most recent Royal Commission, we know what a problem that fuel build-up causes. And there hasn't been as much fuel reduction in recent years as there had been in previous years. If you go back decades, I think there was more fuel reduction then than there is now for various reasons. Often opposition from green groups who don't particularly like burn-offs and fire reductions in the cooler months.